Hello YouTube, it's I'm here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga read. Today we are going to be reviewing Tokyo Revengers 1, 2, and 3. We're really riding that Tokyo Revengers high right now and trying to see if you guys want to read it. So, I don't have it physically, so here we go. No one has it physically right now, at least in the US or in the English market, because Kodansha really likes talking about Tokyo Revengers, but they don't like releasing it. And of course, a lot of people are like, they just don't want to make money. I don't really think that's the case. I'm sure that there's a proper, significant reason why they're not releasing it, because companies are supposed to make money. Obviously, they're gonna try their best to do so. And if Tokyo Revengers is so popular, they're losing out on money if they don't give it a physical release, right? But there's probably some socio-political reasons for this. The fact that, you know, the manji, aka the swastika, shows up very prominently in the series. Now, the swastika, or the manji in this case, doesn't actually mean the same thing that we in the West associate with it, aka Hitler. But can you imagine trying to explain that to crayon eaters every time they open a volume of Tokyo Revengers? People would have a freak out. They would be insane. It would be just like wacky as fuck. People do not take the time to understand cultural significance and cultural relevance to things that they don't care about, especially not things that they clearly associate with evil. Which is kind of a shame, right? Because a lot of things like this could actually, like Tokyo Revengers, could actually do pretty well with like the broader kind of comic community if it got physical releases. But people are dumb, and I'm sure Kodansha just isn't releasing it because they don't want to deal with the repercussions of releasing something that has a swastika so prominently in its series. I mean, you could argue that Dark Horse did it before, but like, I don't know. With Dark Horse, I think it's a little bit different. It was a different time period. People were less offended when they came out with Blade of the Immortal, and now it's just kind of like understood and kind of like ignored that the swastika features so prominently in Blade of the Immortal. That is not the case today, and so I'm sure that Kodansha is just not releasing it because they don't want to deal with the issues that would come with releasing something that has, you know, the big old manji on it all the time. So I think that's why, but it doesn't really matter. That's not the case. Here are the books. There's 3 of them. I bought these in the Kodansha sale that they had a while back. I bought all 3 of them for $5 total, which is really great. I really like that. Of course, the problem is that digital manga, for some weird reason, is always as expensive, if not more expensive, than physical manga, which is kind of insane to me. It's like, what am I paying for exactly? You didn't print it. You're not saving it anywhere. You're not taking up storage space in like a physical capacity. What the fuck am I paying for, right? But that's a different discussion. Let's actually get into the review. So Tokyo Revengers, written by Ken Wakui and published by Kodansha here in the US, also published by Kodansha in Japan. Very interesting there. The demographic here is shonen, and the genres here are action, thriller, sci-fi, and something called Yankee, which is the equivalent of delinquent manga, right? So there you go. I actually did some research on this. Genre Yankee, Y-A-N-K-I, is actually Japanese spelling for Yankee, the word that refers to Americans, and it's supposed to be kind of related to America in the sense that Japanese delinquents really adopted that 80s greaser kind of vibe that Americans had, and then they turned into this kind of weird subculture in Japan of delinquency with, you know, these interesting Western style aesthetics, right? And it's why we always see those like Japanese Yakuza guys, or like the bad guys with those really weird like Elvis or like Grease Lightning kind of hairdos that look insane. And that's what Yankee means, right? So it's pretty cool. Adaptations wise, yes, it has one. Obviously, it just aired. It's actually what made this series so popular here in the West. And Kodansha's really going at it with it. Every other day, they have something with Tokyo Revengers happening on their Twitter. So that's pretty cool. I really wish it were physical editions, but I mean, whatever. It's fine. I'm not angry about it. It's just kind of like, you're missing an opportunity here, man. So the premise here is basically that this loser guy, Takemichi, is a grown guy now, a man, that really sucks at life, and he doesn't have anything going for him. He only has his memories of his friendships with his friends, obviously, when he was a teenager. And he learns on the television, he was watching the news, that his middle school girlfriend had died. And this kind of brings back these kind of crazy feelings, crazy associations that he has with this girl. And he kind of is really sad. I mean, he doesn't have anything going for him. His one girlfriend in his life has just died, and he just doesn't know what to do. He's kind of doing his thing, and eventually it seems like he's getting killed because of some accident. He gets pushed onto the railroad, but somehow, instead of dying, he ends up in the past, in the body of his teenage middle school self. And now he decides to protect his girlfriend using this new opportunity that he has. And it's actually quite good because it actually ends up being framed as an isekai rebirth story. Well, it wouldn't be isekai, but like a rebirth, reincarnation kind of story, like a do-over kind of story. But it doesn't seem to be so, right? And then he sets out to save her. In order to save her, he has to do these things. And it kind of leads him down a dangerous path. And this is the path that we see him walk. And it's actually quite good. I did really like it. I was really surprised. And I actually didn't pick up this series because of the hype of the anime, but rather because I was in Mexico with my cousins. And my favorite cousin, Luis, he was like, yeah, man, Tokyo Revengers is great. You should check it out. And I was like, maybe, I don't know. And he was like, no, dude, it's really good. And I was like, well, I mean, you're like 14. You think everything is cool. And I was like, and he was like, yeah, maybe, but like, it's still good. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I read it, and it is pretty good. So I'm quite happy I listened to him. I even texted him. I was like, hey, man, you were right. This is pretty awesome. How's the animation for it? He was like, yeah, it's okay. I was like, well, does Mikey's kick look really good? He was like, yeah, it's good. Okay, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll watch it. But I like the manga for sure. So plotline wise, it's super solid. It's a time travel mystery with a teenage protagonist, kind of teenage delinquency going on here. And the plot point, or the plot actually happens in the past. The current timeline, when he's an adult, is actually more of an exposition kind of situation where he's kind of learning what it is that he has to do. He meets up with someone else from his past that helps him out, and they kind of plan out what they're going to do in order to save his girlfriend. And so every time he comes back to the future, or to the present, I guess, it's more of like, hey, I'm here back from my mission, what's the next objective? And then he goes back in time and he kind of does the thing, and then he comes back to the future and stuff like that. So it's actually quite interesting. It's pretty well done. And it reminds me of some kind of interesting TV shows. Like there's this one Spanish TV show called Ministry of Time, which is, I think, kind of similar. I remember Fringe. Although I don't think Fringe was a time travel series, but rather a dimension hopping series. Can't remember exactly. I watched it with my dad a long time ago. And so it's kind of interesting that there's like this base of operations that he returns to every time, and then he goes back in time to kind of figure out what he has to do next. So it's quite good. I really enjoy the romance aspect. It's quite good. It's actually very serious and very adult-like for the fact that, you know, it's teenagers, middle schoolers kind of dealing with these things. But I think that that's kind of Ken Wakui's ability more than it is like the content of the romantic subplot. And of course, has the usual shonen stuff with like never giving up, being the good guy, trying to live a life that you find interesting and important, and, you know, friendship beats out everything else and stuff like that. Quite good overall, very, very enjoyable. And yeah, I really liked it. So characters wise, we have Takemichi, our main character. He's a loser with convictions, which is kind of like the saving grace of his character most of the time, right? Because he really is just like not important, not useful, but because he's someone from the future with a grown man's attitude and kind of knowledge, he kind of comes back and shows his friends a lot of wisdom and a lot of like good what's it called, like good ways of being, right? Which is kind of funny because they're all still delinquents, so it's like, can you be good and a bad guy at the same time, and are delinquents bad guys? And it's a very interesting kind of complex kind of thing that happens with Takemichi. And then we have Tachibana, who is Takemichi's girlfriend, and she's a very strong powerful, kind of interesting girl. I really like her because she's a strong, independent character, and a strong, independent female character at that, without going into this kind of like, she has to be like the guys in order to be this type of character. I think that she shines in the way that her emotional strength is quite good. It's actually very good. It balances out well with Takemichi, who doesn't actually have very much emotional strength. He has convictions, but he doesn't have the correct kind of like outlook on life after so many years of being a loser to kind of like be optimistic, right? So it's kind of interesting. And he gets a lot of his strength of emotion through interacting with Tachibana. So I really like their character dynamic, and I really like her as a character because she just shows inner strength, you know, strength that matters, not physical strength, which can wane and wax, and you can get better or weaker with any, you know, number of possibilities. Inner strength is something that you really develop and kind of grow on your own. So I really like it a lot. I think it's very good characterization on her part. Then we have Naoto, which is Tachibana's younger brother, and he kind of ends up being the accomplice to Takemichi. And then we have Mikey and Draken, who are the cool gangster characters, right? And they're the leaders of the Tokyo Manji gang, the gang which this series kind of revolves around, the guys that have the swastikas. And they're very interesting. Mikey is a very easygoing guy, but he has a strict moral code. He has a kind of way of looking at things that, if he wasn't a delinquent, would make him like a hero, or like a very kind of interesting kind of good guy, right? And it's kind of interesting because I really enjoy this kind of like, yeah, we're bad guys in the sense that we don't follow the law, but that doesn't mean that we're not good people. So I really like that. Of course, they're actually not really that good people. They kind of do things that that we would consider not good, but it's still kind of like, they're not bad people either, right? And Mikey and Draken are very cool, very interesting. I like their backstories. I like how they met and how they developed into kind of friends. And I really like that Mikey and Draken are kind of two sides of the same coin and are stuck at the hip together, but their problems turn into everyone's problems when it has to do with the gang. So it's very interesting. I really like it. I think it's very good. Wakui really is good at characterization. I really like his work. World building wise, it's good, it's solid. The time travel gimmick is not very complex, but it's good enough that it kind of is interesting to kind of figure out how it works, even if you don't really understand it that well. And of course, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's just a way for the story to happen. So it's really not that important. It's just a plot device, but the plot device is explained well enough that it kind of makes sense. So I like it a lot. So yeah. Good development of the teen gangs. We get to see that, you know, Tokyo has quite a few different delinquent gangs that are made up of teenagers, and that each one kind of has its own thing going on, and that, you know, there's strife and, you know, gang wars happening in this kind of area of Tokyo. And so I really enjoy that because it's well developed. It doesn't make it seem like some crazy thing that no one understands. It's a very easy, like, uncomplex thing that is explained very well. And of course, I really do like the development of this area of Tokyo, because we don't really know where anything is, but we know that there's stuff happening and kind of areas around the place where all of these characters frequent. So I like that a lot. It's very nice. Art-wise, I think it's very good. It wasn't my favorite early on, but once I got used to it, you know, 2 or 3 chapters in, I actually really did start to enjoy it. I think it's very nice. It wouldn't really be the first, my top type of art, but it is one that has a lot of good stuff going for it. The character designs are really good. There's quite a bit of like very cool drip, and like the outfits that Mikey and Draken wear are very cool, very enjoyable, very interesting to look at. And although most everyone else is wearing just school uniforms, they make it work. The way they're drawn is very nice, very good. And yeah, the characters like facial expressions are also very nice. I think Wakui really does this very well. So great stuff with the art here. Fan service wise, I think there's a little bit of fan service. It's not too much, but it is there. I mean, it's a Japanese series. It's about delinquents. It's about teenagers doing things they shouldn't be doing. So of course, there's going to be some sort of situations where this kind of content kind of appears. Of course, it's really not that much. I think it's one time in the second volume, and that was basically it. That's all I remember. So it was either the only notable thing, or it was literally the only time it happened. So, I mean, there you go. I don't really know if people would care about this, because it's already like a series that most people probably wouldn't let their kids read. But if you kind of like don't care about that, there you go. Fan service is pretty minimal. Don't worry, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. At least in these first 3 volumes, it's all good. Rating wise, this is a 4 and a 5. It's very good. Good story and good writing, but it really isn't my favorite. Like, I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, oh my god, I need to consume this, you know, ridiculously fast, right? I haven't gotten to the point where I have to binge it, because I want to know what's going on. I did kind of enjoy where the 3rd volume ended up. It kind of ended in a very interesting cliffhanger, kind of mid-mission, as it were. And I think it's good, but I wasn't so invested in the characters that I needed to pick up the next volume. Also because it's so expensive. So I'm either gonna wait for some coin back things on Bookwalker, or another sale for the series, because it's expensive, man. But it is good. I do recommend it. I think it's very nice. It's very enjoyable. You guys should definitely check it out if you're interested in this kind of delinquent kind of style of stuff. So I definitely recommend it. I think everyone should read it. But of course, it doesn't necessarily mean it's for everyone. So I don't really have any similar titles either. I haven't really gotten into anything that really can be considered delinquent type manga. I do have Yu Yu Hakusho, and I guess that is a delinquent type manga. I read the first chapter. It kind of does fit the kind of vibe. But I don't actually know if Yu Yu Hakusho is kind of similar to this. I know that it's a battle shonen, so it's going to be a little bit different. But I'm not too sure. But maybe if you like this, you could read Yu Yu Hakusho, or if you like Yu Yu Hakusho, you could read this. Whatever way you want to spin that. But I'm not endorsing Yu Yu Hakusho as something similar to Tokyo Revengers. I'm just saying they're going to have similar vibes going on, at least from the first chapter. So yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. What do you guys think of Tokyo Revengers? Are you guys gonna read the manga? Are you guys waiting for someone to release it physically? I mean, Kodansha is the only one that can do it in English, right? But I mean, you could go to Kinokuniya and buy the Japanese physical editions. They cost $8, which is kind of not the best, because Japanese volumes only should cost like $5. But importation fees and stuff like that, it makes it kind of make sense, but it's not that great. I personally am waiting for Panini or Ibrea or some other Latin American Spanish speaking company to release it, so I can buy it and own it physically, even if it's not in the same kind of style that I would have really liked, which is a oversized Kodansha size. But I don't know, I want to pick it up for sure. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, and if you did, I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. See you guys later.